Drop the ball down.
Ah, nice. So you're actually like DJing now, dude. You're like cueing me
A
in.
bit, yeah.
I like it, dude. Well, that's Weston, everybody. By the way,
Hello.
The unsung heroes, Weston and Nathaniel, there behind the scenes. Hey, everybody. Welcome to This Pink Cloud, Season 2, Episode 18. I am DJ Kelly Reverb. With me in studio today is Dylan Kingston.
What's up, everybody? How y'all doing this morning?
And we are professorless today. If y'all actually follow the show, he is actually working on getting into rehab. I just texted him prior to the show, and I said, "Hey, what's going on? Any updates you want to give the people?" And he said, "I'm fine, man. Just working this weekend, then go into rehab next." So that's all the information I have on the professor. That is the professor update. But more exciting, I have shirts now.
Sick.
Right here, I'm wearing one. Here, wait. I'll hold it up for the camera. Right here, baby. We've got the, let me make sure. I could have unfolded this, but this camera? Yeah, there we go. There's that one. There's that one. And then there is, this is compelling. This is compelling for a podcast if you're not watching.
Yeah.
But right there, I went to rehab.
I like that one.
And all I got was my life back with the, with the logos and stuff. But anyway, so I guess while we're propping that out, I might as well throw in thanks to our sponsor, Summer Sky. If you want to reach them, it is 888-857-8857. Once again, that's 888-857-8857. And then they're also summersky.us. They sponsor the show. They're a great rehab. Hey, and we're a show about recovery.
Yes, we are.
Funny how that works. So let me just tell you a little backstory. Dylan and I actually met at something called Skate Straight, which is a smart recovery meeting. And that's why we're so intelligent, because we go to smart recovery. But so I met you there. Dylan, or as I like to say, Dylan. But, why don't you, I guess, because I hear it is a great story from your addiction and from that point of view. So do you want to start us off as a young Dylan?
Yeah, the young whippersnapper.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, I guess. I mean, I had a pretty normal childhood. I lived in Wiley and grew up skateboarding, started skateboarding at a young age and things like that, and everything was pretty normal. I really didn't start down the road to that path of like addiction and all that stuff until I was 17 or 18.
Sure.
Started smoking weed at like 14, whatever, kind of, that was like in the culture of skateboarding and all of those things. Go to the park, drink a beer, smoke a doobie, skate,
right,
hang out with people, but it was really towards my senior year. My best friend that was like a spoon coon, like every day we were together.
A spoon coon.
Yeah.
All right.
Every day we were together, we skated all the time. Well, he ended up moving away. And so it was kind of just left to the people that I hung out with, but just really tolerated, you know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
I didn't have that brother, that partner in crime.
Yeah.
So I started kind of partying a little bit more, found the club scene, the nightclub scene, the after hours scene and stuff like that. Started dabbling here and there and trying different things. and then I found some way. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the way I remember it is I got hurt skateboarding pretty bad. I tore like every ligament and tendon in my left ankle.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and I was in a boot for like 10 months, something like that.
Right.
So
So no skating.
no skating.
Yeah.
I was left to my own devices. I think I partied in a wheelchair for a while.
Of course, dude. Doing the wheelies and whatnot.
Yeah, impressing people at parties and my wheelchair tricks. And
All right. Did you ever drop in while you were in your wheelchair?
I didn't. But
No,
and
but I
looking back,
should've.
we need to get a wheelchair and go to the skate park.
Right.
But yeah, so I think I was prescribed pain medicine, obviously, because that's like a really heavy injury. And so I got prescribed the pain medicine, was taking it as prescribed, things like that. Well, then one thing leads to another, and, that's the story. I got prescribed a pain medication. I liked it even when I wasn't in pain.
Right.
And I just got a little too happy with it. And I started taking more than I was supposed to. I started.
Now, were you being prescribed more, or did you start looking to the streets, or?
Well, okay, so originally I think that I was prescribed a little bit more than I needed.
Sure.
As like as a back, like a pillow, so that if I got into a point where I was in pain, I would have it. And then I started finishing my prescription before I was supposed to get a refill. And
Right.
things like that. So then, yes, I turned to the streets, right? And I remember this so vividly because I had a very hard resolve to never do hard drugs.
Of course.
My doctor gave it to me. It's okay.
Right.
Just a little bit of weed here and there is cool. Some club drugs, things like that.
Sure.
But the big two, meth and heroin, I was never gonna touch. You couldn't.
Right.
You couldn't peg me for that in my life.
And by the way, that's a good plan. I mean, I actually stuck with that plan. So
Yeah.
thank God.
And some people are lucky and can, but
Right.
myself, I started down that opiate road, and that's something that grabs you, and you don't get the choice. It takes
Sure.
your choice. Slowly but surely, I made my way towards things. It was almost like I set myself up, because I would tell myself I would do something that I said I would never do, and then I'd be like, oh, well, I'm not going to do this.
Right.
And then 6 months later, I'd be doing that.
Right.
You know?
You set parameters that you crossed all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So
Right.
it's like I was speaking, and I didn't realize I believed in this so heavily until I look back on it now. But you speak things into existence. You really do.
Right.
Like you manifest that stuff if you talk about it and think about it and all the time and everything like that. Like, it can happen. It's
No, I get it.
putting it into the universe.
Sure.
So slowly I started dabbling with so at first I was getting like hydrocodones, and then I started getting Oxycontin, and then I started getting Dilaudid, and then it was
You get some street fentanyl.
Yeah,
I know
and-
that's huge. Like now, I mean, there's a definitely crazy amount of that on the streets, and you don't know what that's made of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you have no idea. And the thing is that if you're actually getting fentanyl, the amount of that stuff that it takes to kill you is just like it's like a pin like the tip of a pin. And so we were
Very dangerous. Don't do street fentanyl,
Yeah.
kids.
Don't do that. It's not all it's cracked up to be.
Right.
And so, yeah, man, we just started getting stuff from, and then I remember one day not being able to find something or whatever, and someone was like, hey, man, this is the same exact stuff, it's going to do the exact same thing, and it's going to be cheaper, you're going to save money, because,
Oh, yeah.
I had a job, I served tables back then, and I made damn good money. I worked at Olive Garden for 5 years, and I was the bar manager.
Right.
And I think I was pulling in $1,200, $1,500 a week.
Right.
And I had nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
because I was spending it all on frivolous nonsense and drugs, you know?
Yeah.
And so somebody said, "Oh, you're gonna save some money," and I was like, "Well, that sounds good." You
Right.
know?
Yeah. I'm a thrifty drug addict.
But they didn't throw in there, "You're gonna save some money at first."
Right.
You know what I'm saying? until it gets its claws in you, and then you're screwed.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So
I mean, basically you went from the street opiates or being prescribed opiates, then gradually, I mean, how do we get to IV use? I mean, are we there yet? Or
okay. it was like I said, I set parameters for myself. I told myself I won't do this, I won't do that, and so it was a progression over time. When I started doing it, I was smoking it and snorting it, and wasn't. I would see needles and be like, "Oh, that's crazy," you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But then, as an addiction does, I mean, you grow a tolerance to things. You know, you're around other people, and the more that you familiarize yourself with something, the less scary it becomes.
Right.
You know, and so I promised myself, "Oh, I'll never stick myself."
Did you have friends that were like using, and then you go, "Oh, well, I mean, you know, it's not that bad," or how did you justify it?
Well, okay, so when I first started doing it, the first time I ever did it, I didn't want to tell anybody.
Right.
I kept it hidden. None of my close friends knew. Like my best friend that moved away, he never knew until I got in trouble for it the first time. But then I found out that people I had used to hang out with that had lost connection with, I got back in contact with them, and they were doing it as well. So then, you know, common ground, we start hanging out again and things like that. And so I got familiarized with the whole process of like going and getting it and getting the rigs from the pharmacy and like all of this stuff, but I wouldn't do it. I'm like, "No, I don't want a needle. I'm fine this way, whatever."
Right.
And that goes on for a little while until you see your friends getting way more messed up than you are, you know?
Right.
And you, as an addict, you're like, "Man, I want to be that messed up."
Right.
Why can't I get there?
Why can't I have the superior buzz?
Yeah, exactly. And so it becomes a pissing contest, and next thing you know, I mean, of course, there's like females involved and this, that, and the other, and you don't wanna stand out and stuff like that. And so I mean, I tried it for the first time, and that was probably a year into doing it. I think I had already gotten arrested once for it, and then I went to detox twice, and that's before I started shooting up.
Oh wow.
So the signs started popping up, right?
Sure. Now, when you went to detox, did you actually just do medical detox and then just go back out and no treatment, or?
Yeah. So I think that was always my issue. I don't know. I don't know if I come off like this anymore, but I'm a very stubborn person.
Okay.
You can't tell me nothing. I know better than anybody.
Right.
I'm going to tell you most of the time.
Okay.
Which I've tried to learn not to be, you know,
Right.
as
No, I
I've
gotcha.
grown and become an adult. But back then I was young, dumb, and nobody
Right.
could tell me shit.
Right.
So I think I remember this phone call like it was yesterday. I remember I got up at like 10 in the morning. I didn't know what dope sick was. Everyone that I had been using with had told me, "Hey, if you don't use this, you're gonna get sick." And I was like, "I don't know what you're talking about." I used and never got sick. But I never realized that like once I started, there wasn't a break. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
No,
like,
so you never got the hangover.
yeah. and so-
AKA dope sick for IV users.
Yeah, and this is even before I was an IV user, and like I just never experienced that. So one day when I like didn't use the day before and I wake up and I feel like I have the flu, I like tell my mom, I'm like, "Look, dude, like, because I'm like still 19 at this point. I'm still living at home being a bum.
Sure.
I'm like, "Look, I don't feel good. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm like throwing up. I'm like all cold chills, all that stuff."
Right.
And she's like, "Oh, you have the flu. Just go lay down, whatever." But it didn't get better.
Right.
And so I call my buddy, or my buddy calls me, and he's like, "Hey, dude, let's go out. Like, let's go get some, whatever." And I'm like, "Dude, I'm so sick." And he starts laughing on the phone. Like, and I'll never forget this. Like, he starts laughing at me, and I'm like, "Dude, what's wrong? Like, what's funny?" And he's like, "Dude, you're dope sick."
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is that?" And he's like, trust me. He's like, come get in my car. I'm outside your house. We're gonna go get some. You'll feel better in 30 minutes.
Now, just for those people out there, explain what dope sick is, because I hear this all the time, this term. And if you're not, maybe a user, if you're just a boring alcoholic like me, then you hear the term dope sick. So, what does dope sick mean to you?
Dope sick is the worst possible physical sickness that I've ever encountered in my life. Growing up, I was like super susceptible to, I went to public school, so I had strep throat and bronchitis and the flu every year and all that stuff, you know what I'm saying? But like, dope sick is your body's need for opiates.
Right.
And so when you become dope sick, it starts off as like cold, hot, you get sweats, you get lethargic, your body aches. But then once you go into full withdrawals or full dope sickness, you're like vomiting, you're like shitting your brain, like shitting your brains out, for lack of a better term. Like, you're hot, you're cold, everything hurts, you're restless, you can't sleep. Like, so not only do you start to get sleep deprivation, but you're also like in the worst pain. Like how I explain it to people is it feels like your bones are growing outside of your body.
Okay.
Like, it's the worst sickness that I literally would rather get hit by a full-size bus.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just, and I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy.
Right, I got you. Okay,
Like,
well, now the people, I always like to paint a little bit of a mental picture, because like people always say dope sick, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, what does, what exactly is that? What does that entail? So that's good that I know that now.
Yeah,
So,
and it's
please.
it's not for the it's not for the faint of heart.
Right.
Like I think that now looking back too, I think that is a catalyst for a lot of the reasons why people do such crazy things to get drugs. Because
nobody wants to be dope
I
sick.
feel I fear that. Like
Yeah.
like I was last a couple weeks ago, I don't know, it was maybe like a month ago or something. I got like a little cold or something, just kind of under the weather. I wasn't sick. I wasn't like deathly, but I didn't feel 100%.
Right.
And like the first thing my mind goes to is like, oh God, please, like I haven't done any dope. Why am I getting sick? You know what I'm saying? And I'm like,
Hey man, you still get sick though.
yeah. And I'm like, this is please. And then I don't know. It's weird.
I got you. Yeah, and then you're like, oh, yeah, that whole self-survival mode probably kicks in, and you go, oh man, that part of your brain goes, oh, we need to use again, dude.
Yes.
We're sick. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and it's
so it's still there. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Because it's a learned behavior.
yeah, and it's like you don't realize how learned things are until it comes up, and
Yeah.
then you're like, whoa, my brain is trained to do that.
Sure.
Like, I don't know, it's just crazy.
Oh, well, I mean, just we were talking about my little thumb injury, and I was like, oh, normally I would drink my way out of that and not even feel it, or whatever. So I get it. I get the whole, learned behavior thing, and then just trying to, in your sobriety, making a conscious decision because you can. And you happen to make better decisions, I think,
Yeah.
when you're sober.
Yeah, absolutely. 100. I think 100%.
Right.
I have the cognitive ability to make the rational decision now.
Right.
But yeah, back to where I was. So my friend's like, ha ha ha, whatever, you're dope sick. He's like making fun of me. He's like, just come get in my car. So literally, it's like 10 a.m. I'm in basketball shorts, no shoes, and like a tank top. And I go and get my friend's car. And I'm like fetal position in his passenger seat. I'm like, dude, if this doesn't work, I just want you to take me to the hospital. I'm dying. Like,
Right.
it's gotten to the point where I'm just like over it. This is the first time I've ever felt it, so I don't know what's going on. So we go, we get some. We're like driving back to the house because I didn't want to do it in the car just in case we got pulled over. I wanted to have it hidden, all that stuff. I was really cautious about that stuff at first. And then we get pulled over on like 75, I think. And my friend. It was in a cigarette pack under the seat, whatever. It got tossed under my seat in the scramble of the cops pulling us out of the car and stuff like that. And so I get booked and go to Richardson jail for $20 worth of heroin with basketball shorts, a tank top, and no shoes on.
Oh, nice.
No wallet, no nothing. I had nothing on me.
And you're sick.
And I'm sick.
Yeah.
I didn't even get to. I got it, but I never even got to use it, so I'm sick.
Okay.
And that's how they caught. That's how they knew something was up. Because as soon as they walked up to the car, they looked at me and they were like, "This kid is withdrawing hard."
Right.
Like they spotted it like it was nothing.
Yeah.
And so fast forward a couple hours, I get booked in. I get put in a holding tank. I'm like crying. I'm like freaking out. I've never been in jail. I'm 19. Like I don't know what's going on.
Right.
And I have to call my grandmother and call her and tell her, "Hey, I got busted with heroin." Right.
Right. That's gotta be like definitely like out of nowhere, because she probably didn't even know you were using or anything like that.
She had no idea I was doing anything.
Yeah, I'm sure you kept that well hidden.
Yeah, at first.
Yeah.
So this was like the door, the opening of the door. This is like me stepping over the threshold into my active addiction, criminal history, things like that.
Okay.
So I go, she bonds me out of jail, and I go through the sickness at my house for the next 3 days. I start to feel better, and so there's that shimmer of light, and I'm like, I'll never do it again. I promise I never want to feel like that ever again.
Yeah.
Like, I promise I'll never do it, Mimi. Like, just let me stay, keep living here. I'll get a job. I'll be good, I promise.
Right. Shout out to Mimi.
Yeah, shout out to Mimi, best lady that's ever walked this earth. So I go a little bit. I think I started going back to the clubs and stuff like that. I was like, as long as I don't do hard stuff, like I'll be fine.
Right.
That resolve only lasted for a little while.
Yeah.
I started using again, and then
What are we talking like window? Like how long did that policy stay in place?
Maybe a month.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
The first time that it was in my vicinity, like a police dog. I find it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So as soon as it's anywhere close, I'm there. And like we spoke about earlier, it doesn't matter what it is.
Right. Yeah. Like Nolan says, he was addicted to more.
Yes.
So and Dylan was saying the same thing, that he was no stranger to anything really.
Yeah. I mean,
as long as it gave you an altered state of reality, you were in.
Yes, 100%. And so, like I said, that resolve lasted for about a month. Well, then I started running with this guy, and I figured out, which probably was whatever. I figured out, hey, if I'm going to the club and all these people want club drugs, and I can get that for cheaper than I can get what I want,
Right.
then I can sell it to them to make the money to get what I want.
Of course.
You know,
you're a business. You're an entrepreneur.
Yeah. And so I got in with a group of friends, and we started throwing in, and it was like the same group of friends I was using heroin with and things like that. So we started going to the club to sell drugs to get money for our drugs.
Right.
And that worked for a little while, until one night I am driving to go pick up one of my business partners, I guess you could say.
Sure.
In Rockwall, Texas. And red and blue lights come behind us.
Oh yeah, dude, you gotta love that.
So I wasn't 21 yet, and we were going to all these clubs. So of course, to get into these clubs, I needed fake IDs.
Yeah, of course.
So I had multiple from multiple different states.
Right? Yeah. Well, even back in my day, dude, we had the Vicon Village special.
Yeah.
The Louisiana.
Yeah, and so I got taken to this place called Copycat. And you like go in, and it's like super sketchy.
All right.
You like walk in, and it's like, it looks, honestly to me, it looks like an old check cashing place that they've blacked out all the windows, and there's just like a little hole in the thing.
Yeah.
And you walk up and you're like, yeah, I'll take two. And they like stick a camera through the hole, take your picture, pull it back, and then like 5 minutes later they like hand them out, and it's like $150.
Wow.
And
I'm glad to see that fake IDs are still going on out
yeah,
there.
they're alive and well, right?
Right.
And so yeah, we get pulled over in Rockwall, and nothing's wrong, whatever. And then, but they smell weed in the car, and I'm like, okay, yeah,
Okay.
go ahead, search the car, whatever. We had smoked previously, and so I was
Sure.
like, you're not gonna find anything.
Right. It's gone.
And I didn't know that fake IDs could be such a heinous crime.
Yes.
So they find the fake IDs. So I have my original ID, my Texas driver's license. I have a Arizona ID with my name and picture on it, and then I have, I think it was a Louisiana one.
I was hoping for a Hawaiian one, like McLovin style.
yeah.
McLovin style.
Right. But the thing is my address in the stoner druggy mentality that I had, my address was 420 Lucy Lane.
Oh, nice.
So
There we go.
You got to pick that stuff. So
Sure, of course.
Of course, we had to make it kind of. But yeah, so they found all of those, and they're like, "Oh, this doesn't look good." Da 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 da. And I'm like, because I remember asking before we got them, how much trouble can we get them for these? And they're like, oh, it's just a slap on the wrist. They usually cut them up and send you on your way. Well, not Rockwall County.
Okay.
Rockwall County, I don't know if, shout out to Rockwall County. But I don't know if anybody has ever, they're tough.
Yeah.
They don't play games. So previously, that first time I got arrested, I got those charges dropped on it being my first time and me playing. Well, not me playing, but me being a young kid, and they were like, look, he got wrapped up with the wrong people, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
I did some community service, and it went away.
Sure.
So this is me getting arrested in Rockwall. This is, like, probably less than a year later, and they give me a first-degree felony for forgery of a government document of criminal institution of national security or money.
Right.
So these IDs.
Hold on, wait. That was a lot. I need to process that. What was that again?
Okay, so it was forgery of a government document of a
Got that.
criminal institution of national security or money.
Okay.
So basically, the reason why they gave me that charge, which I come to find out later, is the IDs that I had. These IDs were good. You could scan them at the gas station. Like, they were good. So the numbers matched up to somebody else.
Yeah.
So I technically, like, was stealing people's identities. And it wasn't just like a run-of-the-mill, like, fake ID, like, oh, that looks like me. Like,
yeah, this was like legit, like, yeah.
like real deal Holyfield.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I get charged with this felony. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I've never been in jail longer than 24 hours. Mimi to the rescue again. Right? I call Mimi. I get on the phone. That foxhole prayer. That, like, I promise I'll never do anything wrong ever again.
Yeah. I like that. The foxhole prayer.
Yeah. And so I call her and she bonds me out. Man, I think it cost her like $8,000 or something to bond me out. My bond, my bond was almost like $100,000.
Wow.
They didn't want to let me go, and it was my first, like, charge, you know.
Yeah, sure.
And so I remember, man, I got out.
And obviously, you got the fake ID so you could vote, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I would. Yeah.
Well, but by the way, was there any good names on the fake ID?
No, they were all my name.
Oh,
That's the thing. They were all my name.
I love that, dude.
Yeah. I was ballsy with it, I guess, looking back now, but
that's funny.
they were all my name. They all said 420 Lucy Lane, and they had my picture on them.
Well, there you go.
I was like, they
Beautiful.
can't say these aren't mine. I'm dumb, young, whatever. And so yeah, so I got in trouble in Rockwall. Fast forward, I go and they put me on probation, right? Probation is not a good thing for drug addicts.
Okay.
It's hard enough for people that actually, like, do the right thing. Like, I'm still on probation right now.
Sure.
For the last charge of that, we'll get there.
Okay.
It's still difficult now. Then it was a joke. I was joking myself, thinking that I could do it.
Right.
I should have just took time, but I didn't. So here we are. So I signed for a 4-year deferred probation. I'm on probation about 6 months. I can't pass a piss test. I can't pay a fine because I can't hold a job. Because as soon as I got out of jail and said, oh, I'm not going to do anything wrong anymore, I started going harder.
Right.
I, like, left the house, wasn't living at grandma's anymore. I was couch surfing. I was stealing to get drugs. I was...
Right. And all this time, you're out on bond and probation. which Mimi was nice enough to facilitate.
And she was on the hook for all of it.
Yeah, for $100 grand.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I honestly think I don't remember because I was so fucked up, but I'm pretty sure she put her house up as collateral.
Oh,
like,
wow,
you know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Like,
Yeah.
this woman would do anything for me.
Yeah, right.
And I wouldn't be where I'm at today without her. So after that, I'm like on probation. I'm still technically living at the house, but I'm not there much. I'm borrowing money from her every day, things like that. Stealing to get it. Just all of those things that you do to get drugs, right? I start running with some newer people and getting into more of this. Well, probation is going to catch up to you eventually. So this 4-year probation, I went through it, and I did multiple, like, 3-night stays in jail because I couldn't pass a piss test, 10-night stays in jail because I couldn't pass a piss test. They revoked me for non-payment. I think at the end of it, I had, like, 24 revocations on that 4-year probation.
Wow.
Where before they were like, hey, we're going to send you somewhere.
Right.
So I had a good lawyer. Maybe paid for a good lawyer.
Sure.
And I kept getting chance after chance after chance after chance.
Right.
And so when they were done giving me
Now,
chances.
okay, just layman's terms, because when they revoke your probation, right? So what does that mean? Like, what's that process? I mean, just real quick.
Well, so if you have conditions of probation, right?
Okay. Yeah,
so
like you have to show up here, you have to pee, and
you have classes, you have to
Right.
pay your payments.
Sure.
So when you don't do those things, they file a motion for revocation.
Okay.
And when they do that, a warrant goes out for your arrest. So the next time you show up to probation, they arrest you, or if you don't show up to probation, it's just the next time they catch. Because
it's the next time they catch you on the outside, you're going inside.
yeah, so
Okay.
probation and parole are different. Probation, if you stop showing up, it stops. Parole, if you don't get caught until the end of your parole, then you discharge your parole successfully.
Okay.
But
Everybody hear that?
it's really weird how it works.
Right.
I don't know. And I've been on both, and it's terrible. So
Right.
24 revocations, they finally
Yeah,
are
I
like,
know. I was like, how do they let that happen without, throwing you on the inside?
my
doing
lawyer
some time?
played golf with the DA.
Well, there we go.
And was really expensive. And I kept kind of like giving them a little bit to get a little bit, and then I think I got changed probation officers like 3 times, and so somewhere in that commotion, I just pulled the wool over there. Just kind of slid through.
Right, yeah.
But then they had enough. So I can either do 2 years TDC to finish out my sentence.
And TDC
Is Texas Department of Corrections, so it's big boy jail, it's prison. I'm 20, I think. I'm like,
Wow.
fuck that. I'm not going to jail. I'm too pretty for that shit.
Right.
And then they were like, okay, well, this is what you can do then. We're going to send you to this 6-month rehabilitation program.
Okay.
And that's how they made it sound fancy. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get some help, right?
Yeah.
Really what they sent me to is called Safe P.
Okay.
So it's a substance abuse and felony punishment treatment facility.
Okay.
It's a cognitive behavioral adjustment program.
Okay, now and it's called Safe P?
Safe P.
Okay, and this is exclusively for people that are in trouble with the law. This is not a resource for everybody.
No, absolutely not. This is somewhere you're forced to go.
Okay.
And I wouldn't recommend trying to go.
Right. Well, no, and but you would take that over jail, right?
Oh yeah. Well.
Now.
Okay. So let me explain this to you. So
Okay.
this is how it was. This is how it was played out to me. They said, "Hey, instead of going to prison, we're going to put you back in county.
Okay.
You're gonna hang out until a bed opens up.
Okay.
And you're timed. So it's a 6-month program on the condition of your behavior.
Okay.
So they're like, we're gonna put you back in county jail. You're gonna hang out there for however long it takes for a bed to open up, and then once you hit the unit where you're going, your time starts.
Right.
And I was told if I go there and I do what I'm supposed to do, 6 months from that day, I'll be home.
Okay.
I waited 2 months in county jail. So I did 2 months in county jail before a bed opened up.
Okay.
None of that time counted.
Right.
I get there, and this place.
How are the accommodations in jail?
Less than satisfactory. I
Right.
mean, Rockwall County is a lot nicer county jail than any other one that I've been to. But still, it's no place I want to be.
Sure. Yeah.
Taking a shit where you can hold hands with the person next to you, showering.
A little kumbaya moment.
Yeah, like Bible
while
study.
You're while defecating.
Yeah, like taking a shower with no curtain.
Oh yeah.
Lye soap is terrible for your skin; it breaks you out.
Yeah.
All that stuff. But yeah, so then I finally get to this unit, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna go to this unit. It's gonna be rehab. We're gonna like.
Reprogram my brain cognitively.
Well, that's what they call it, is programming. That's why I went for that word, because it's like when I say it's like a recovery boot camp, I mean that to like the most harshest way I can mean it.
Okay.
The officers or the guards, the corrections officers, they come in at 4:15 in the morning and turn the lights on and scream 4:15 feet on the floor. You have to be out of bed and dressed by 4:30 and ready to go to chow. And then you come back and you literally are in cognitive behavior classes from like 5 until 5 in the afternoon. You get like 3 hours to watch TV, and you have to be back in your rack by 8 o'clock at night.
Wow.
Like, your clothes have to be folded at your bunk in like 10 by, like, military style.
Military style, right?
Like,
okay.
it's tough.
Sure.
And so I went, you march to Cadence every Wednesday and Saturday.
Okay.
All of those things, like, it's very, like, a very rigorous, and then not only that, you have to go through all that stress, but the inmates, like, the people that are there,
are trying to kill me.
well, no, it's not even
or
that.
kick your ass or steal your stuff.
They have these things called slips and tickets, so you have to call each other out on your behavior. So, like, say that me and you are in the same dorm, and you're not picking up after yourself, or you're being an asshole, or you're not doing what you're supposed to do. I'm supposed to call you out on it, and then write you up about it.
Nice.
And then turn it into the people in charge and let them know that you're fucking up when they're not watching.
Now, and does that person that you fingered, do they know it's you that wrote them up?
Yeah, so that's how
that makes a great living environment.
That's how it works. The next day, you have to like confront each other. Like, so like, say the night before you were doing something you weren't supposed to do. I would walk up to you and I'd go, Kelly, I would like you to pull up on the behavior of leaving your trash everywhere. I would write a ticket on you. The next day, we have to sit in a circle of all the people in our pod, and we have to sit in front of each other, and I have to tell you why you're wrong. And you have to say, I'm sorry, and like tell me you're going to fix your behavior.
Really? What if you don't want to fix your behavior, or you have a problem? Do you process there?
Yeah, it's like a process circle. Dude, it's just bizarre.
Yeah.
So not only are you going through that trauma and all of that, but it's a TDC facility. There's no AC. There's no heat.
Oh, man.
I
now
got
that's got to be what time of year were you in?
I got there in August.
Oh.
So when I got there, it was 108 degrees inside the door.
God.
They're big metal buildings.
Yeah.
And by the time I left, it was cold outside, and you slept fully clothed.
Oh, wow.
Like jacket and hat and everything.
Sure.
Wow. There was 60 men in each dorm, bunk bed style, like barracks style.
Okay.
And so I was there for 6 months, right? I was told, like I told you previously, I was told 6 months from the day that I entered that place, I would be walking out to go home.
Okay.
Well, when I get there, I find out that's not the case. That sounded sweet,
Yeah.
and it's an option, but not for Rockwall County. Every other county has the option to get out of there and go home to do their aftercare.
Okay.
But Rockwall County requires you to go to a halfway house.
Okay.
So
and then people out there that don't know what a halfway house is basically like a sober living situation.
yeah,
right?
it's
regimented, but and there's rules, and you still have to P-test, and there's a certain level of accountability and structure there that you might not do on your own when you're at home.
perfect.
Okay.
That's exactly it. You have like a time you have to be back, and they check you when you go in and out and things like that.
Sure.
Especially this one a little bit more strictly because
Okay.
it's a TDC ran facility.
Uh-huh.
So you're on the outside. I was in Bryan College Station at a place called BV Casa.
Okay.
That place was amazing. I had a great counselor there. I really started a foundation for recovery there. It was great, and I got to work a job and save some money. When I left there, I had enough money to buy a car when I came back to Dallas, all of those things.
Yeah.
So life was looking good, right? So
Right.
I did that. I was gone for ended up being 7 months I was at Safe P. I got out. I did 3 more months at a halfway house, and I come back to Dallas.
Now, are you like 23 at this time, or 20?
Yeah, somewhere right around there.
Okay.
Yeah, somewhere right around there. And I come back to Dallas, right? I touch back down in Dallas. I get my grandmother's like, come home, just do what you're supposed to do. We'll take you to meetings. You don't have to get a job right away. We want you to ease back into this.
Yeah.
I got a new skateboard. I started going to the skate park a lot.
Yeah.
And then same old story. I stopped going to meetings because I didn't really want to go.
Sure.
I ran into some old friends.
Right.
Started using again.
The old people, places, things.
Yeah.
And you went back to what you knew and what was familiar.
Yeah.
And then guess what? You relapsed, right?
Yeah, 100%. I went
Yeah.
back to grandma's couch. I was in the same area with the same people, all those things. When I got out of Safe P, I was still on probation in Rockwall.
Yeah.
So, I had to finish that out. So I started using again.
Okay.
Same story. Couldn't pass a piss test. Wasn't going to my classes, this, that, and the other. They're finally like, we're done with you, dude. So I think I owed them like a year and a half left on my probation. And so they were like, you're going to TDC for it. So just got home from Safe P. It's been maybe 8 months, a year, and I'm on my way to TDC.
Right.
So all of that I did to avoid going to prison, I still end up going anyway.
Right. Yeah.
And in the process,
Which is not uncommon.
no, not
Yeah.
uncommon at
Yeah.
all. So now being on probation and doing the right thing and working a job and all that, probation's a breeze. And I'll get to that of how much better things are. But back then it was a setup for failure. I was going to prison regardless.
Right.
And so first trip to TDC, I owed them like a year. Well, it takes 4 months for me to even get picked up to go to TDC because you wait in county and then you catch chain and then you go and you get your ID and you go to like a classifications unit. And then if you're there long enough, then you go to a big boy unit, this, that, and the other. Well, when I got there, unbeknownst to me, the judge had granted me my back time.
Okay.
So all that time I did in Safe P wasn't for nothing. I
Right.
got that. So I did what's called a turnaround. I got there, and as soon as I got there, I was seeing classifications, and they were like, you're ODR, which means overdue release.
Okay.
So I was already on my way home.
Oh, wow.
I got super lucky.
Yeah.
So I got my ID. I was there.
Your real ID.
Yeah, my
Right.
TDC ID.
Right, I gotcha.
Where they shave your head,
Oh,
they
okay.
make you, you take
I
a bit,
gotcha.
all that. So I was overdue release, so it was time for me to go home already, basically. So I think I stayed there a month and a half, and then at 5 in the morning one night they called my name. I got sent to the release unit. I got released. I'm on parole.
Okay.
So parole, I have like a year left.
Okay.
And so I get out on parole. I'm doing good. I'm not using whatever. This is like 25, 26. I'm not using. I'm doing good. And then I start using again. Well, I'm so close to finishing parole. Like I told you, it's not like probation. I finished my probation because I did my time. They're done with me.
Yeah.
Rockwall County has released me.
Right.
But then I'm on parole for the other charge that I got at the end of my probation that sent me to prison. It tacked up together.
Gotcha.
And I'm on parole, so I start using again. But to save face, I'm like, I go to my parole officer and I'm like, hey, look, I'm gonna go to treatment. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. Please don't revoke me because they can revoke your parole too and send you back to prison to do your time.
Right.
So I go to treatment. for the fourth time. There's so much that I probably am missing stuff.
No, it's okay.
But yeah, and so I've gone to treatment for like the fourth time, just detox.
Uh-huh.
Go to Homeward Bound. I go to Homeward Bound.
Homeward Bound is a facility here in Dallas that
Yes.
it's free, it's state run, and Kurt works there.
Yes.
Shout out Kurt.
Shout out Kurt, big man, in charge of this skate straight. He's awesome. But yeah, and so Kurt doesn't work there at this time, but when I go to detox. And I get out of detox and I'm like, okay, cool, I'm good. I go back to parole. I tell them I'm good, whatever, and I'm taking Suboxone. For people that don't know what Suboxone is, it's like a medicine for your neurological thing.
Right. Well, how Nolan explained Suboxone to me, it's basically for opiate use.
Yes.
And basically, it's a sealing drug. So, and he explained it to me in alcoholic terms. He said it's basically like you've had 3 shots and then you can't get any more drunk.
Yeah.
So it's an inhibitor.
It turns off your receptors.
Yeah.
It like interferes with them so that a lot of the time what happens is people are taking Suboxone and then they like want to relapse anyway.
Yeah.
And they end up doing so much because they don't start getting high and then they overdose.
Yeah. Sure.
So I started doing Suboxone and I was doing good for a little bit, and then same old story, it's not enough. So I stopped doing Suboxone, I start using again. So in this time period, we're like fast forwarding a little bit. The time period is, so now my clean date is December 26th of 2019. I was using all of the beginning of 2019, and then I turned myself into Turtle Creek.
Okay, and Turtle Creek is another state-run facility,
in
right?
Dallas, yeah. It's a 28-day men's program. You have to go to, if you're on drugs like heroin where you're going to withdraw, you have to go to detox first.
Right. Yeah, a lot of places I with Nolan going into rehab as well. I didn't realize there's places, but then they require you to be medically detoxed prior to admission.
Yeah, because it can be a very dangerous thing, detoxing without any help.
Right.
Especially,
go ahead.
Heroin, you feel like you're dying, but most of the time you won't.
Right.
But like alcohol, for instance,
Sure.
Xanax, things like that, those things you can die from the withdrawals. They like send your body into such a shock.
So I think you were almost there, and we just, I just want to be cognizant of the time, but you were, I think you were getting to the point where you were going to Oxford House, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And then now you ran an Oxford House, right? Okay, well, just tell me how you got to Oxford House and then what your experience was.
Okay, cool. So we'll fast forward. So I was using that whole time, November 26th, or December 26th, 2019, I turned myself into Turtle Creek. I do 28 days there. Previously, that time I went to Homeward Bound, I met one of my really, really good friends, Quindon Tarver, who just passed away recently. He relapsed and was in his addiction, and something terrible happened. Rest in peace.
Sure.
But he is the catalyst to all of my recovery right now. Like, I wouldn't say he's the reason, but he pushed me, he nudged me, right?
Right.
So I met him at Homeward Bound, kept in contact with him. He was like, hey man, I just got out of Turtle Creek not too long ago. I've been clean for like 3 months. I'm living at this place called Oxford House, which I had no idea what that was.
Sure.
And I'm like, dude, I don't know. I've got a job. I really can't miss work. I'm going to be sick, this, that, and the other. He's like, dude, I will come pick you up and take you. Just do it. And I was like, no, it's fine. So I get my grandmother the day after Christmas. I wanted to spend Christmas with my family, which was probably a mistake because I was so high that I don't remember it. Falling asleep and making an ass of myself and all of those things. And so December 26th, they take me to Turtle Creek. I do 28 days at Turtle Creek, and in that time, Quinn gets me an interview at an Oxford House.
Okay.
Because I decided that since detox and a little bit of treatment didn't work before, I needed to do something different, right?
Right.
And so I go to this interview at this Oxford House, and what Oxford House is it's all around the world. They have houses everywhere. And so it's a sober living community, but it's not ran by the state or anything like that. So it's a group of guys. They have female houses as well, guys or girls, that live in a house. You have accountability. You have to do chores. You have to pay your rent. You have to have a job. You have to go to meetings. And you learn how to be an adult. It's a springboard back into normal society.
Right.
So I was living in Richardson and Oxford House. I started out just a normal member of the Oxford House, and by the time I finished, I was there a little over a year. By the time I finished, I was the most senior member in the house. I was paying all the bills. I was doing all of those things, and I was working in chapter.
Right.
So there's houses, and each division of houses is a chapter, and then the chapter reports to the regional. And so I was doing things like going to other houses when there were issues and things
Sure.
like that, and just being
So
of service.
you were kind of in management a little bit.
Well, yeah, but yeah, it was just being of service.
No,
is
I
how I
got
like
you.
to look
Yeah.
at it. Yeah. And in Oxford, I also met my beautiful fiance. She was supposed to be here today, but
Right.
she ended up working super late last night. Whatever.
What's her name?
Shelly Simmons.
Hi, Shelly.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
she'll watch later. She'll watch later. She's probably still sleeping with the dog.
Right.
But yeah, I met her, and we kind of did it together. So she was the chapter HSC for the females, and I was the chapter HSC for the males. So when female houses would have issues, she would go and I would go with her, and then
Right.
when male houses had issues, I would go and she would go with me.
Right, sure.
So we did it as like a team, and it was like
Sure.
a good service work thing, and we build on each other. It was really, really cool. So like I said, I was in Oxford for about a year, and that's where I built my foundation. I started going to Skate Straight. I worked my steps. I got a job. I saved some money.
Right.
All of these things just because I had a safe place to go at night.
Sure.
And
Well,
it
I love, and I always like to point this out, the whole foundation thing, like, because even when we talk to Nolan, or if I talk to Nolan, he would say the reason why he relapsed is because he didn't really build a foundation. And then not only do you build that foundation, but then you actually have to, participate in that foundation, which is community, and be active. And you can set up all this stuff and have all these cool people to call or talk to or process with, but if you don't do the work, it's not gonna happen, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's not rocket science, and
Your recovery is like a plant, and you have to like nurture it and like take care of it, and you have a tool bag of things to do that with.
exactly.
And and I've learned this because my fiance is like an excessive plant lover.
Yeah.
And so my apartment is filled with plants. It looks like I live in a jungle.
Nice.
And so as soon as we get a plant, and we have to learn how to take care of it,
Right.
and then we start to take care of it, and then if we neglect it, you can tell like it just diminishes.
Right. Yeah.
And so I think of my recovery that way. Like I have to do things to keep myself going,
Yeah.
pushing to like continue down this path, right?
Yeah. I mean, I know you're over a year sober, right? I mean,
Yeah,
where are you at?
I think I'm coming up on 17 months. I'm like 506
Nice.
days, something like that.
You're thriving, dude.
Thriving.
I like it. Well, so let's touch on this real quick. You also do some skating for our little buddy E-Dub and his company, right?
Yeah, so I am part of the team. So E-Dubs is the wax company, and it's part of a bigger collective called Bread Brand Skateboarding.
Sure.
So there's Red F, Thief Trucks, Happy Wheels, E-Dubs Skate Wax. And so I'm a sponsored skater for them.
Cool.
We're filming a video, so shout out Bread Brand.
Yeah.
We're filming a full-length video right now, and that's what I do. Like I said previously, I've skated like my whole life, like since I
Right.
was like 10.
Yeah.
And that's my me time.
Yeah.
Some people go to the spa. Some people, get a massage or whatever. My me time is throwing myself down stairs and rails, and like I like it.
Right.
And so that's what keeps me going a lot
Sure.
of the time. So it's cool, man.
That's cool. Well, man, I mean, I know we're just at about an hour. I wanted to shout out to Summer Sky again. Thank you for sponsoring the show. We're now a podcast, so I have to actually give the number. So it's 888-857-8857, and that's summersky.us if you want to check them out. Also, the shirts are now available on my DJ website. So if anybody would like to get a shirt, a This Pink Cloud shirt, or the chair shirt, or the rainbow shirt, you can get them. Go to djkellyreverb.com, and then there'll be a little shop button, and all the shirts will pop up, and all the proceeds go to funding this show. So it's a good thing, right?
Yeah,
I guess so.
absolutely, 100%.
So other than that, I'd love to have you back on the show because I think you have a lot to offer. So I think you might be seeing Dylan, in maybe a recurring role or a slight recurring role or whatever. And then let's see, are we missing anything? You got E-Dub, you shouted out to the wife, so the important stuff is out of the way. And we did the sponsorship. But we're going to actually take next week off because I actually have a gig that pays me.
Yeah, you got to make that. You got to keep this rolling.
So I have to actually do that. But and then we have some good stuff coming up, I guess, on the 28th. We're going to be talking about Recovery Dharma.
Oh, Stephanie was telling me about that. I'm super interested in that.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about that. And then we also have my good buddy Mike Bond. He's going to be on the show. He's a Skate Straight guy. And then and a Summer Sky alumni for that. Okay. And then also, let's see. We're going to have somebody on from Dogs Matter, which is the organization where you can actually have your pet taken care of while you're in rehab. So
that's cool.
That's a cool thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, I want to thank you for coming on. Anybody you want to shout out to, or?
I think I shouted everybody out. There's just one last thing I wanted to say is like, if you're having trouble, reach out. You can't get help if you don't ask for help. I was always really hard on myself for asking for help. So just the help is there. If you need it, just reach out. And I'm sure that Kelly will tag me in this. If anybody wants to reach out and need some advice or anything, I'm open to talk, and I'm always an advocate for recovery. So
yeah. And I mean, that's the important thing, man. I mean, just even if you just, if you're not to everything level, or just, you just think you might want to try the sober lifestyle or dip your big toe in it and see what it's about, hit us up.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's not like you're signing a contract with us,
right? And I'm proof, man. If I can do it, anybody can do it.
And I feel the same way. If I can do it, then anybody can, and it's just a matter of doing the work.
Yep, absolutely.
And also, please, if you're out there, be sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are, I think I'm at like 171 subscribers, so sick. I'm like out there cheerleading, trying to get it done. But if you just go to thispinkcloud.com, that URL will take you to our YouTube channel. So please subscribe to that. And if you're listening on a podcast format, then you can see my beautiful face. And Dylan's beautiful face.
Yeah, this perfectly groomed beard.
And that is a nice beard, by the way. Are you about, I would say, 25% ginge, or
I don't know. See, I don't know where this comes from. Like when I was a kid, I was bleach blonde. It started getting darker, and then I started growing a beard, and it's like, I don't know, maybe like my Irish or my like Scottish.
It's coming out.
Coming through.
You've got some ginge in you.
Yeah.
Man. But hey, thanks for coming out, and then we'll be back not next week, but the 28th, and if you would like to play us out there, Mr. Weston, remember, there's no magic pill for sobriety, because if there was, we would all take too many.